All right. So on a scale of 1 to 10, given that incredibly cool and dramatic opening, how disappointed are you to see me, Gary Berman, just sitting here in front of Comic Backgrounds? Send me your comments and let me know, because I'm treating this all like DevOps, but I will tell you something cool. And I won't do it in this show, but sometime in the near future, you're going to see the dry cleaners that I just got with my CyberHero, costume on it. And how many of you also on a scale of 1 to 10 think I'm batshit? A 63-year-old guy, talking about cybersecurity with some of the smartest people in the whole world, trying to lead a kind of an aircraft carrier, which is the cybersecurity community, like this, with all these planes and all these things going up and down and everything going on around the aircraft carrier, to pivot from fear, uncertainty, and doubt, or FUD, which everyone knows, to something like fun. So we know what FUD stands for, but I'm going to leave it up to you to decide what fun stands for. And to that end, I want to introduce you to Scott Algeier. He's not really known as being a fun or funny guy, but he turns out he actually is. Is that right, Scott?
Yeah, well, I've a bad dad jokes just like every other dad.
Yeah, exactly. Without getting too personal, how many kids do you have, if I can ask?
Yeah, sure. We have two daughters.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. And, one of the interesting things about this convergence of, working anywhere and primarily from home is, people like you, parents with younger children, are having to do everything. Here you are, you're, the executive director of the information technology ISAC, and yet, we might hear, one of your kids walking by or see a dog.
Yeah, it is crazy times. We're dealing with it like everyone else is, the homeschooling, the two adults working from home on the same internet. So we're dealing with it like everyone else is.
And our audience, of course, is very sophisticated about these things. But maybe if there's someone out there, what are the best practices, for protecting yourself in the situation that people are working from home? What should people do? Like the top couple of things.
Sure. So I think there's a couple of simple steps people can do, right? One is if you change your the default passwords on your internet, right? So you want to make sure your in home network is secure. And also download updates on your machines automatically, right? And this is kind of a no-brainer that a lot of people don't do, but it's easy now to have the updates installed without human intervention, and you should do that. It's keeping your machines patched is helps to eliminate the vulnerabilities in those machines. So obviously work from home causes all sorts of problems for enterprises and because everyone's working from they've moved from these secure corporate networks to these less secure home networks. So a lot of companies are now providing guidance to their employees about how to ensure their home routers are up to date and secure, changing default passwords and during their machines. Also, a lot of companies are looking at upgrading or some are upgrading to virtual private networks. Some are upgrading from virtual private networks, but for the general home user, making sure your machines are updated, making sure you're not clicking on any links from people who you don't know who they are, and then also backing up your data. So in case there is some type of an incident, you have access to your data and you can recover from it.
Indeed. And we have some breaking news here. What does it say here? Breaking news. IT-ISAC releases 2020 annual report. What good luck that we have the head here. Scott, okay, put on your other hat. What's that all about?
Yeah, so the timing is really coincidental here. This is awesome for you to have me on the program, Gary. First of all, thank you for for speaking with me and giving me the opportunity to talk with you about what we've done within the IT-ISAC and our annual report. It's always a pleasure to talk with you.
Thank you.
And just for the record, there is a fine line between crazy and passionate, and you're clearly on the passionate side. So we appreciate all of the work that you do. So back to the IT-ISAC annual report. Earlier this week, when we're recording the episode here, earlier this week, we issued our annual report. 2020 was our 20th anniversary. The IT-ISAC was founded in 2000, so the 2020 is our 20th anniversary. And obviously, COVID was a big, defining factor for the year. And when we first started realizing the full impact of this in the February and March timeframe, we were, concerned like everyone else about the health and well-being of the team and the people who work with us. But also, we needed to figure out what this means from an organizational perspective, and how do we maintain growth and momentum. So, the annual report highlights some of the key achievements from the organization. And in the summary of it is that we were able to achieve pretty good growth as an organization, both in terms of adding members, adding capabilities, responding to incidents. Obviously, security related to COVID-19 was a big deal. Towards the end of the year, SolarWinds became a big deal, but there was a lot of work in between COVID-19 and SolarWinds as well that enabled us to kind of overcome these really choppy waters that COVID-19 provided for us.
Indeed. And I'm going to, with your permission, share something super cool. This is a video of you guys. So let me just, throw this up on screen here. And I think this is incredibly well done. I hope the audience likes it as much as I did. So how cool is that?
Yes. So thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that very much. So we're very proud of what we've been doing over the last 20 years. We were one of the first ISACs to form right after PDD 63 in 1998 was when that report was, that policy directive was released, calling for the establishment of industry-only information sharing organizations. Their whole idea is to collaborate around cyber threats and physical threats, and by working together, the organizations can be stronger collectively than they are individually. So
Well,
we've been
forgive the interruption 1 second, because we just got a great comment you can see on the bottom. Hello, what is the purpose of the discussion? I'll give you my quick answer: to shine the light on the unsung cyber heroes like Scott and the IT-ISAC, who toil in anonymity to keep us safe, who only time you hear about cybersecurity or hacking is when the criminals win. And so that's our mission here on our end. And Scott, I think, is beginning to explain, quite well the purpose of the discussion.
Yeah, thank you. So part of the reason why the ITISAC exists is because the economics of cybersecurity favor the bad guys, right? It's a lot easier to attack a network than to defend a network. So the ITISAC provides a force multiplier for companies to collaborate, engage, share analysis. There's a lot of sharing of indicators of compromise, indicators of attack, intelligence about adversaries, but there's also a lot of brain power that comes together to talk through about steps companies can take to manage risks, how they've overcome certain risks in the past, how do they measure, right? What are the reporting metrics to the boards of directors? How do you show your success? How do you know you're being successful yourself? And there's a lot of discussion going on now about, are there ways that we can share information about specific adversaries, right? Where there's a lot of companies are focusing on adversaries and doing their own research. How can we share that knowledge across the membership within the IT-ISAC? Because although people are looking at the same actors, not everyone has the same information, right? Everyone gleans different insights. So how can we gain a better understanding on some of these actors?
Well, indeed. And to build on that, one of the things that I've learned from pivoting from being a victim, I think, Scott, a little bit. I was the CEO of a marketing communications company. We had some insiders clone my company under my nose while I wasn't there. I lost several $1 million and had to shut down the company. And one of the things that I've been fortunate to do in listening and learning from folks, like you, is to understand that the criminal infrastructure are horizontally oriented. They share information just freely and routinely. There's even, like a Yelp kind of rating service, for the delivery of criminal products. But the defenders are much more vertically structured, sometimes because of intellectual property and profitability and rules and regulations from governments and stuff like that. How do you explain the ISAC and your relationship to DHS, and how does all that work for people in our audience who may want to join?
Sure. So the IT-ISAC is a nonprofit membership organization. Our member companies are from the IT industry. They're from the food and agriculture industry. They're from the elections industry. And it expands a little bit beyond that as well. But basically, companies are leveraging IT in ways they haven't before. And so almost every company today is a technology company. And the IT-ISAC was established by core traditional information technology companies, but we've expanded it out over the years to be accommodating for there's critical infrastructure sectors specifically who don't have established information sharing organizations such as food and agriculture and elections, where the private sector community can come collaborate and share information about threats, mitigation practices, and intelligence. We do have a good collaborative relationship with the Department of Homeland Security. We participate in their information sharing programs in which they provide information to the IT-ISAC for distribution to our members. There are some analytic exchange programs that we participate in, but all of the information that our members provide to us is it's shared by them voluntarily, and they control where it goes. So they have the option to for us to hold that information just internally within our operations team, for us to use it for analytics. They can share that information throughout the IT-ISAC membership as a whole. They could share it within their special interest group, or they can give us permission to share it more broadly with the ISAC community. There are about 24, 25 partner ISACs that we engage with through the National Council of ISACs. And our members control whether their information goes to them, goes to DHS. So it's based on originator control. The originator of the information controls how it's distributed.
Well, this is an incredibly interesting insight, because this industry, the community, is based on something called zero trust, and you can't get any less trustworthy than that. So how did you all overcome this hesitancy to share, when it just has never really been done very much? I mean, it is now, but.
Yeah, so it was, in the beginning, it was a real struggle. And even today, it's always a challenge, right? You have competitors in the market space, or you're asking to share information about attacks that kind of threaten their enterprise, right? So what's the business model for that? So the business model is everyone gets stronger by sharing. By sharing, you're providing insight to somebody else who can provide analysis and intelligence back to you. If you're asking for assistance, hey, I haven't seen this before, there's a whole world of subject matter experts collaborating through the IT-ISAC that you can get that. So, everyone in our membership is focused on their enterprise for sure, but B, focusing on helping peer companies and collaborators within collaborating with analysts within their peer companies. So the business case is everyone gets more secure, and one of the ways we build out trust is promoting that business case, showing them the value, providing analytics back to so they can see the value of contributing, and also getting these people on calls with each other on a regular basis. So it's not one company A sharing with company B, but you're building interpersonal relationships between the teams.
Well, just to build on that as well, it seems that the small to medium business community, would find this incredibly valuable because, they may not have the personnel to deal with threats and intelligence and best practices. How does the IT-ISAC help small to medium businesses?
Sure, so that's a great question. So the small and medium-sized businesses, they are underserved, and it's probably the most complicated community to address. For budget reasons. There's a lack of resources internally, or the knowledge base. CEOs are busy running businesses. They're not thinking about cyber threats, and a lot of them are thinking, "I'm a small company, or why would anybody want to target me?" So, and the reason is multiple reasons why small businesses need to pay attention to this. One is, no company is immune, right? There are cyber threat actors that are just throwing attacks out there, throwing spam, ransomware, just throwing darts at a wall, waiting for something to stick. And there's always going to be somebody who will click on a link and will launch a ransomware onto their enterprise, lock them out, and the bad guys make money. So even though you may not be the target of the attack, you can still be a victim of the attack because they're kind of spraying these attacks everywhere.
Well, just to build on that, we're doing really almost a world premiere here. The audience, I think many of you know that we create comics, the CyberHero Adventures, Defenders of the Digital Universe, and we've just signed a joint venture with an Israeli cybersecurity firm to bring our characters to life. So you're talking about phishing, and this is Phoebe the Fisher.
I'm Phoebe Fisher. The Fisher hunts its prey by pretending to be legitimate communication from a trusted company or from the hijacked identity of a friend, colleague, or family member. Using one of many ruses, the Fisher encourages the potential victim to divulge sensitive information such as login IDs, passwords, PINs, social security numbers, etc. This information is quickly used to steal money from accounts and to apply for fraudulent loans and credit cards.
Yeah, so that's a prototype. What do you think about that, by the way, since you were talking about phishing?
Yeah, no, I think that's spot on. There's a great definition of what phishing is as well. And we in the IT-ISAC, we have a piece coming out sometime in March, early March, on phishing, and it's called "Don't Take the Bait." So we're providing some more information about phishing attacks and how to identify them and how to mitigate them. But yeah, I mean, so I think your character there is spot on, and I think it's good leading. But I think that's one example that you don't necessarily need to be the target of the attack in order to be a victim of one, right? But then the second element for the small businesses is as large enterprises are becoming more secure, the attackers are transitioning their attacks to the smaller enterprises because they contain some of the sensitive information that they're after. Some of them are originators, right? They're lower level companies in the supply chain that's providing key intellectual property or services to an organization that is the intended target. So they can get the information from you rather than going on to the larger enterprise network. B, they can use you to get into that larger enterprise. And then the third element of it, and this is where we have a really interesting relationship with the CompTIA ISAC in this regard, is a lot of smaller managed security service providers are being targeted because it's easier to get in. You get into one company, you have access to information from dozens, if not hundreds of companies. And we're seeing this, the SolarWinds attack is one, example of that, of a larger enterprise being used as for an access point into other enterprises, industry and government. But we're seeing this at the small business level as well, small, medium-sized enterprises, those who provide security services or information technology services to other small businesses. They're being attacked. So we formed last one of the elements we highlight in our annual report is this relationship we formed with the CompTIA ISAC. CompTIA, a lot of their members are member organizations are these managed security service providers, or these managed.
Listen, you have to. I'm giving you a mission. Invite them on our show. It would be great to talk to the head of that, to listen and learn about their stuff.
Yeah, we will do that. We'll do that for sure. And what we're doing, is we're providing their operational services. We're providing their threat analytics. We're providing them with their regular reporting, and we've partnered with our technology partners, TrueStar Technologies, to provide their threat intelligence platform as well.
Great. And so we have an interesting, question here. So what do you think about this question?
Yeah. So I think the essence. The IT-ISAC membership is open to companies who leverage IT. So we're not just saying, hey, you're only IT companies. We're not limiting our sharing to only with IT companies, but we are limiting. We do have a non-disclosure agreement within our membership that limits sharing within the membership. So there are specific reasons why a food and agriculture company, for example, might want to share only with a food and agriculture company. They have unique security threats. They have unique threat actors that are only targeting that food and agriculture industry. So there is a reason for some of our industry-specific special interest groups to contain the information to that community. But we try to bring analysis from those communities over to the rest of our membership.
Indeed. And, as we're kind of, wrapping up here, one of the things that just, comes up all the time is the need, the gap in cybersecurity, from a workforce standpoint, encouraging young people to take, science, technology, art, engineering, math, having college students have internships and things like that to steer careers in cybersecurity. What are you all doing in furtherance in support of that?
Yeah, so that's clearly there's a cybersecurity skills gap. There's more open jobs than there are qualified people. We've working with some of the major certification and training organizations, CompTIA, ISAC, the EC Council, to provide discounted education and training benefits to employees of the IT-ISAC member companies. Because even with some of these larger enterprises, getting paying for certifications and training for the employees is expensive. Smaller enterprises, it's really a lot more challenging for them. So we're working with these. We have formal agreements with these organizations, the CompTIA, EC Council, and ISACA, to collaborate with them on training and education for IT-ISAC in our member companies.
And they can get credits, for the time and certification.
Yes, and they can get full certification programs, right? Full certification training, right? Go through specific training certifications with one of those specific organizations.
Well, it's coincidental also, and this really is coincidental that we're talking about certifications, because I'm 63 years of age and I just got my first cert. I'll show you a little video that I did just really for my wife, and we showed it to a few people and it went crazy. There were like 15,000 views or something of this.
DevOps Gary Berman. Did you pass?
I passed. Thank you so much for all your support.
That's good stuff. I saw that. I didn't see the video, but I saw one of your postings that you achieved it. So you're never too old, right? And there's no time like the present to educate yourself about it.
Well, let me ask you, and I'll throw it out for our audience. It was of course graded on a scale of 1 to 100, and the passing grade was 65. Scott, what grade do you think I got?
Oh, that's not a fair question. I'll go with 90.
I got a 65.
Oh, really? Okay.
I mean, literally right on the razor's edge. And so, I was grateful. I don't care, pass or fail.
Yeah, no sense in overachieving.
Well, so I looked into it, and it turns out sort of in these two broad sections of the exam, one dealt with like human things, like agile learning and, feedback loop and, all that stuff. And then the other stuff dealt with the technical aspects of it, software development. And so on the human stuff, I literally got 100. I got everyone right. And on the software stuff, I got like, 2/3 wrong.
Wow.
Which is perfectly accurate.
Yeah, but it averages out, you pass. So that's all that matters.
Hey, and I encourage all of you go get your certs. So Scott, as we're wrapping up, is there anything else you'd like to share, with our audience to amplify, your great mission?
Well, yeah, thank you for asking that question. I think one of the key messages that I think that we're promoting out there these days is that just because you can't defend against every attack doesn't mean that you shouldn't defend against the attacks you can defend against, right? And no matter what your size of the enterprise, there are things that you can do to make yourself more secure. And sure, it's not realistic to expect that everybody is going to be able to defend a well-funded nation-state adversary. If they want to get into the network, they're going to get into the network. But that doesn't mean you need to fall victim to a ransomware attack via, a phishing campaign. That doesn't mean that doesn't give you free license to not deploy patches within your environment. So just because you can't defend against the most complicated threat doesn't mean that you have a free pass against the less complicated threats. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that we were also talking about within the IT-ISAC is the ability and the power of the power of engaging with people who have gone through these battles with you before. We had someone, when we were going through one of the SolarWinds calls, someone described it, as therapy with cybersecurity. I mean, they loved it, right? They got to share their trials and tribulations and concerns and their struggles or what they're going through with all of these other people who understand what they're going through. And you're not in this fight alone. And there's a community of people here who want your help or who have the knowledge who can assist. And if you're doing it alone, don't do it alone. Find an organization within your community, within your state, one of these national information sharing organizations. If you're part of a critical infrastructure sector, information sharing organizations are popping up all over where you're not alone. Be involved, be engaged.
Well, I love that advice. And to wrap up, there's one final thing about that, about the emotional and psychological toll, that this takes on people. How do you manage stress, Scott?
Yeah, so I do a lot of walking in the spring and summer, and I spend a lot of time on the elliptical in the winter. It's too cold to go walking. And I try to have a very healthy spiritual life. I'm trying to maintain, recognize that it's not all about me. It's not all about what I'm doing today or what the project of the matter is. That there's a higher purpose. To life, and having a good spiritual well-being or balance, as well as taking care of your physical health, being active, exercising. To me, it's important. I carve out time each day for both of those.
And to build on that, my sort of North Star was actually a quote from Albert Einstein when a reporter said, "Mr. Einstein, on one hand, you have science and physics and mathematics and all that. And on the other hand, you have the possible existence of a higher authority or God. How do you kind of reconcile those two views?" And he said, coincidence is God's way of remaining anonymous. And how you and I met was a series of coincidences, and words cannot adequately express what you've done to help me both on a personal and a professional and even on a spiritual level, using this as somewhat of a catharsis, to be able to share things, but not getting, too mushy, if you will. How do people get a hold of you or to join, the IT-ISAC?
Sure. So thank you for that. ITISAC.org is our website, IT, and there's a hyphen in there, ISAC, ISAC.org. And my contact information is there, and there's almost everything you wanted to know about the organization, I think, is up there.
Well, terrific. So, Scott, on behalf of a grateful digital universe, thanks so much to you and all the unsung cyber heroes who are in our audience today. If you want to be on our show, just send me a note, Gary at cyberheroescomics.com. And we'll brainstorm about it. So, thanks again, Scott. Have a great day.
Yeah, thank you, Gary. Thank you for having me, and thank you for the work you do.
You're welcome.